Hi, my name is Steve Tegeler. I'm a Director of Technical Product Management here at VMware in our Cloud Native Apps business unit. And this lightboard session is a discussion around the consumers and the providers in IT today. And what I've done is I've drawn a very generic list of the technology silos that exist in IT. There certainly could be a lot more than this, and quite frankly, a lot of these may be consolidated into a single team. But I found this is a good way to articulate the different technologies in IT and to talk really about the consumers and the providers of the technology. Because if you're the provider of the technology, you probably care about the in-the-weeds details around the technology versus the people that are actually consuming it. So this is a discussion about that. You can see I've broken it up into certainly the physical infrastructure that everything runs on. We've got the virtual infrastructure layer here. Then we've got the IaaS component. So you can think of IaaS as really the coordination and orchestration of the specific virtual infrastructure technology. Then you've got, at the IaaS layer, above that, you've got the platform services folks. And this is a highly generic term that can be used for basically the architects that call it infrastructure primitives and present them, create different technologies and present them up to application developers. So so that's a brief overview. Let's talk about each individual layer. And if we start off down here at the physical infrastructure layer, when I'm in the physical infrastructure layer, what do I actually care about? Well, if I'm in the physical infrastructure layer, most likely I have to make a decision around the compute platform I use. So basically what server, is it a Dell, is it an HP, is it a Blade, is it a rack mount? Then I've got basically the networking decision. So am I using Cisco or Arista or Juniper? Is it layer 3 top of rack? What are all those topology decisions? Finally, what about the storage? You got to make decisions around the storage. So is it NFS, is it iSCSI, is it fiber channel, direct attach, so on and so forth. Okay, so I have to make decisions down in the physical infrastructure related to this. Now, if I'm up in the virtual infrastructure layer, I'm going to have to make decisions as well about what virtual infrastructure technology that I choose. But when I look down at that physical infrastructure, what do I really care about? What's important to me? Is it the fact that it's a Cisco or Juniper or Dell or HP? Not necessarily. Okay? What I really care about is it x86 for the server? Do I have the right layer 2 or layer 3 connectivity? And from a storage aspect, is it shared storage, direct attached? Does it have the performance and latency requirements that I need? Okay? So again, the consumer of the technology doesn't care about the stuff in the weeds. They really care about these fundamental building blocks. What's the easy abstracted consumption model for me? And so if I'm at the virtual infrastructure layer, let's take a look at this one. So in this case, I need to make a decision around what hypervisor to use, right? What software-defined network platform, and then potentially a software-defined storage technology. So this is the fundamental virtualization technology that completely abstracts the physical infrastructure from infrastructure which is leveraged by the IaaS component. And so when I take a look at the IaaS component, what are they doing? So in their case, they need to worry about, specifically in that IaaS software, there's probably some sort of tenancy model. There's probably some quotas for the users. And in essence, there's probably some overall orchestration engine that exists in IaaS which can orchestrate these virtualization technologies. So when I look at that, at the IaaS layer, if these are my requirements of decisions I need to make, in order to be successful here, I demand something from the virtual infrastructure. What do I demand? Well, it's actually pretty basic. I need the plugins and drivers for these specific technologies that I can put into my IaaS layer. The IaaS thing, the big thing, is going to orchestrate all this stuff, so I need to make sure I have these plugins and drivers that work and support the different technologies that exist up here. Okay? So now I'm at the IaaS layer. These are the building block components that I'm worried about. But at the IaaS layer, do I care about the physical infrastructure? Probably not. Okay? Because everything is abstracted through the virtual infrastructure. That's what I interact with and consume. Now at the IaaS layer, if we work up actually above the IaaS layer, here's this generic platform services team. And so if we look at the the provider perspective of the platform services team, what are they doing? Well, they're going to take basic infrastructure building blocks, and they are going to deploy. Maybe they're deploying a full PaaS environment for their application developers. It could be that, or it could be something simple as a Kubernetes based technology where they're going to offer their application developers something. Or it could be something completely custom that they develop. The platform services team is a highly generic term used for a lot of different ways to abstract the complexity of infrastructure to the application developers. These folks up here, they don't really care about infrastructure. They just want to create apps with application building blocks. Okay. So back down to the platform services folks, they've got PaaS, Kubernetes, custom, whatever. The thing that they demand out of the IaaS, the thing that they really want is a very, very simple abstraction model. So they do not want to have to worry about what virtual infrastructure they use. What they do is they issue calls like create virtual machine, create instance, connect to network, apply security, attach block storage, right? They just want these very, very simple API calls, and they want a documented API that they can go through and do this stuff. And so, again, the IaaS, their viewpoint is that they need to abstract the complexity of all these other things down here through simple API calls. Now, the interesting thing is if we look, historically, what may have happened is that if the IaaS team and below has not provided the platform services team the consumption model they want, like they haven't been able to provide this API, or it's too difficult to use, or there are too many human beings and manual processes, what happened is that they ended up going out to a public cloud. And what the public cloud has, if you think about it, is very simple. It has a well-documented API. So notice, public cloud completely abstracts everything below, right? We're arguing that the same thing exists here. At the IaaS layer, we have a simple API. It abstracts all this stuff below. Okay? So what happened is that the platform services team ended up going directly to the public cloud, and they bypassed internal IT. So we got to make sure when we're internal IT, we got to make sure that we actually produce or have an IT service that is easily consumable by the teams above us. Okay, so there's platform services. Now, the next piece here is the actual application developers. So what do they want? So the consumption model they want and the building blocks that they want are really abstractions even further from the actual infrastructure. So maybe it's like a CI/CD pipeline. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just basic application building blocks. And what do I really mean by basic application building blocks? So instead of going down and having virtual machines that you need to configure or instances or whatnot, instead, what the platform services team can do is they can actually produce building blocks for the application. So it could be Jenkins, it could be some sort of CI/CD pipeline that they just want that. Maybe it's database as a service, right? Maybe it's Java, an entire Java platform, right? So in effect, what they get are these types of building blocks that completely abstract everything below, and what in turn they can do is they can focus on actually putting those together and building their actual applications that get used by the actual end user up here. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is, if the platform services team is not providing the application developers what they want, guess what else is available in the private cloud? Or, the public cloud here. That is all of these building blocks as well. Certainly databases as a service and so on and so forth. So, as internal IT, we have a challenge. And our challenge is to create an environment that is easily consumed, but it also takes into consideration, company policy and that sort of thing. This is a collaborative effort, and you need sponsorship at each step of the way, and you need good communication as well. So thanks for watching, and I hope you found this valuable.